Okay guys, welcome back to the Late Shift podcast. This is obviously part 2 to the 21st of April. If you haven't heard the first part, I would recommend you go back and listen to it. Otherwise, let's go on with the show.
Okay guys, so moving on to the next segment.
Please.
I've got a really good conspiracy theory for you today. I've got one, but it genuinely is a conspiracy theory. It's not a joke about. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't believe that the moon is a hologram, or that it's hollow, or that we're living on flat Earth, or that
or that's actually you looking at yourself through a mirror.
Yeah, or
Or
that
Stephen-
Lennon was killed by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Of course. There are many incredible ones that we love and adore, but this conspiracy theory, as I was reading it, actually sounded particularly tantalising.
Heresy, brothers. Heresy.
Yeah.
I don't know
Looks
if
like
I'm.
someone's fallen to chaos
I
over
think
here.
I've fallen down the meme hole. I think I'm done. This is quite an old.
You were sworn to fight the conspiracy theories, not join them, Val.
Before you
I
know,
know.
Val's going to be on
Can't help it.
InfoWars. So.
Yeah, she'll be there with the tinfoil hat on, like, absolutely, Alex. I mean, the frogs are plotting a revolution, and it's called the Red Ribbit Rising.
So, a very beloved period of history for conspiracy theories especially is the period of the Cold War, because of how many files were kept secret, how much stuff was never reported to the people, and now that time is passing, more and more stuff is kind of coming out about it. But in particular, the conspiracy theory that's highly highlighted and a lot of people believe is the theory of the Marconi murders. Do you guys know anything about that?
Where did they take place?
Italy.
No. So
New York.
between 1982 and 1990, a cluster of strange and often grisly deaths among scientists and computer experts working in Britain's high-tech defence industry baffled investigators. So a team
It was
of...
the Italians. I'm sticking to this Italy theory throughout, by the way.
So, a team of computer scientists working for Marconi Electronic Systems and related companies on top secret defense projects, including the US Strategic Defense Initiative, started dying. And their deaths were very weird and happened simultaneously, or like very close together. And now I'm going to describe to you the kind of stuff that happened. So the idea is that these weren't suicides, because all of these were ruled as suicides by the police, but people believe that they were actually...
Intense games of hide and seek gone wrong.
intense games of hide and seek gone wrong, and also either the British or the American government committing these murders in order to keep the secret safe, or competing governments like Russia, or at least at the start of the time, I suppose. So, the suspicious circumstances probably begin somewhere around March 1982 with the death of senior computer scientist Dr. Keith Bowden, then a contractor for Marconi. So one night, after attending a social function in London, Bowden drove a car across a dual carriageway and plunged off of a bridge. He died instantly because he basically crashed off an embankment and yeah, exactly. The police
Can't use a
said,
car!
so the police said that Bowden was drunk and driving too fast, but his wife and solicitor believed otherwise. They were at the party with him, and he didn't seem drunk at all. He said he had a headache and he was driving home. And friends who were with Bowden that night denied that he'd been drinking whatsoever. So not just two people, but loads of people were saying that this is ridiculous. Bowden's solicitor even hired an accident investigator to examine the wreck, and what they found is that the normally well looked after tyres on Bowden's Rover had been replaced with old and worn out tyres. 3 years later, radar designer Roger Hill killed himself with a shotgun at his home. Later that year, Jonathan Wash died from plunging from a hotel window. More puzzling still was probably the death of Vimal Dajibai, who jumped off of Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol in August 1986. He'd been working at Marconi on computer control systems for Stingray torpedoes. Dajibai was found with his pants around his ankles and a needle-sized puncture around his buttock. The Bristol coroner was concerned by this, and he said that it was a mystery then and remains now. So basically, he had an injection in his butt, and he had thrown himself off the bridge. Weird.
Yeah, but if you said his pants were down...
Yeah.
top hitmen and government assassins don't stab someone in the butt with a needle, then leave their pants down their ankles, and then try and push them off a bridge and blame it on a suicide. Like, the idea was wagging his penis at traffic and tripped.
Also, what injection would you do that had to be in the buttocks?
Yeah, well, no, because investigators don't start, because it's between the toes. No, it's between the toes.
No, most injections are in butt.
No, but I mean, like...
Are you going to a vet? Are you going to a vet rather than a doctor, Val?
If you're trying to trank someone, like... just to push them off a bridge, like...
Sorry,
why would you go through the effort of putting down their trousers?
Literally
just go through the fabric.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is, why was it like... Why is it like, we've got one needle, boys, but it can't go through denim. So we're going to have to pull those pants down, right in the butt. But like, remember to pull them back up, or it's going to look sus.
Okay, so...
But people do inject people in the buttocks and like in the anus because coroners don't check
Not
there.
in the anus. It was.
I know, but what I'm saying is I'm just saying if you want to kill someone with a needle, do it in the anus. I mean, you have to be intimate with them. But coroners don't check there. They don't check in between toes. That's a commonplace. Okay, there's several like inside of the mouth, under the tongue.
If it's so well known, why didn't they check it?
Pardon? They're very busy people, a lot of dead folk. No, I'm being serious. Like, if you want to go to places that, like, say, if I'm going to murder Saul, no offense, Saul, but you had it coming. I'm not going to stab him in the arm. No coroner's check there. I'm going to stab him on the inside of the rim of his anus.
Don't you think this is weird? Don't you think this is weird that all these people that have been working for Marconi are just dying in really weird circumstances? Like,
I'm not saying it's not sus, but I'm just saying like.
Hold on, I've got another one. Okay, so Arshad Sharif was a computer scientist who worked for Marconi. Travelled to Bristol also, tied one end of a ligature to his neck and then the other end to a tree and then jammed his foot on the accelerator of his car and decapitated himself. Like, real weird. Like,
if you're going to kill yourself... less, like... I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm being corrupted by the power of chaos here, but, like, they are getting pretty dramatic. I mean, maybe it was just a sick game of one-upmanship. I'm just saying, you know, when... 3 people have died at the office and you're thinking of doing it too, and one of them died with his pants down his ankles, threw himself on a bridge. You've got to go hard if you want to make an impact, because at this point it's just going to be in the memo, you know.
It's always sad to see like a leaving email that doesn't have any replies versus another one that came out that same day that had like 50 replies that have been pissing you off.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is like if you're gonna it sounds like it's getting to just a hideous game of one-upmanship from a very group of very sad people.
Apparently in the car there was a metal rod found on the floor of the car next to the accelerator that was supposedly
the prop,
like the prop down on the pedal, and the coroner was really annoyed about it. He said, "This is past coincidence. I will not be completing this inquest until I know how 2 men with no connection to Bristol came to find their end here in such dramatic, ridiculous ways." He never found out why, but both men...
he lost. He quit.
But both men were suspected to be working with Cosmos, which involved with the top secret project called Cosmos, which involved underwater guidance systems establishing a further connection between the pair. Got another murder.
Hey, bias.
I've got another death here. Richard Pugh, 1987. His body was found in his flat, his feet bound, a plastic bag on his head, and a thick rope coiled around his body. I think
murder was the right idea.
The coroner's verdict was that it was an accident due to sexual misadventure. And then just days later, another scientist involved for the work for the MOD, Dr. John Britton, died in his own garage of carbon monoxide poisoning. The next month, another Marconi engineer, David Skills, died from carbon monoxide poisoning, found in his car with a hose pipe connected to the exhaust, which is quite common.
I think they've realised how to fake suicides now.
They've figured out, they've got filmed in the amateur pants around the ankles level.
So you've got more common
and
ones.
Car decapitation.
No, 5 is slow run as well.
No, but I guess what I'm saying, those ones were really weird. These ones are really close together. They're like clusters. So you've got Victor Moore, who died from an overdose, Peter Pipel, who died from carbon monoxide poisoning. His death was particularly weird because having spent an evening with friends, he and his wife returned home, and then people went to put away the car, and then the next morning she found his body jammed underneath the car with his mouth next to the exhaust pipe, like he was like... The police were unconvinced that it was a suicide because it seemed impossible they could have manoeuvred his body into the odd position it was found in because his mouth was literally latched around the exhaust. And then John Whiteman supposedly drowned himself in his bathtub, his body surrounded by pills and empty alcohol bottles. The autopsy revealed no trace of drugs or alcohol in his body.
Why? It's like they're really bad at killing people and making it look like suicide.
Can I point out that it's going to be a barren Christmas party this year? Is all I've got to say. Like, that is sus because there's so many people doing it. Well, a lot of us really obviously looks around. Clearly, were murdered.
Okay, David Sands, a senior scientist working on computer-controlled radar, again, made a sudden U-turn in his car and crashed at a high speed into an empty cafe. His vehicle was inexplicably loaded with cans of petrol, causing the car to be completely consumed and explode into a fireball. Sands was only identified with reference to his dental records. So very similar to the guy whose death was ruled an accident due to sexual misadventure is Mark Wisner, who was found dead with a plastic bag on his head and cling film wrapped around his face. Again, it's I don't know, there's people who
Wait, cling film wrapped around his face and a plastic bag.
Yes.
That seems like
too much.
if I was gonna have a bit of a
autoerotic asphyxiation, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I wouldn't go for cling film then a plastic bag.
Yeah.
At that moment where
plastic bag is enough.
Yeah.
There's 2 more that die from car exhaust. Carbon monoxide poisoning. 2 electrocutions of senior figures at Marconi were probably the most suspicious of all the deaths. So Alistair Beckham was
just, in his bath and he was trying to make some toast. and
slipped.
So he worked on pilot programs for America's Strategic Defense Initiative. So after some light Sunday afternoon gardening, Beckham retired to a shed, which was wonky.
Moved past his dead son.
Yes, attached wires to his chest, pushed them into a power socket, and with a handkerchief jammed in his mouth, hit the power. Beckham's wife was entirely unconvinced her husband committed suicide. Beckham was highly secretive about his work, and just hours after his death, men from Ministry of Defence arrived at the scene and took away several documents and files from Beckham's home. In similar but even more gruesome fashion, Marconi's director John Ferry, 60, jammed stripped wires into his own tooth fillings and electrocuted himself. Oh my god, that just gives me the creeps. Can you imagine?
what the hell, Val? When we hit not creepypastas, when we hit conspiracy theories, we want some goofy, silly ones.
We are literally
we're there, we're mouth agape, just staring at you, just what the.
Yeah, you can't believe. Can I just point out that the whole point of this is that we're supposed to make fun of silly conspiracy theories, and in you come with your manipulative conspiracy theory, and you've proven how hollow we are, how pale our virtues are, because in 4 episodes we've gone from criticising to being complete converted.
So they accused
do
the
sound
KGB
really, really sus.
It's clearly sus. It's clearly the CIA, because only the CIA would be so grossly incompetent in murdering people.
So they were thinking originally.
Patriotism you have there, James.
No, it's not patriotism. It's just that everyone's like the CIA did it, but they didn't, because they are basically sitting there and insist that everyone plays by their handicapped rules because they struggle to keep up.
So Professor Colin Pritchard, a noted expert in mental illness and suicides, thinks that at least some of these deaths were statistically uncommon. Whilst it's true that suicide is one of the most prevalent causes of early death in men, especially young men, Pritchard believes that factors in some of the cases make these suicide verdicts unlikely. Pritchard cites the cases of at least 4 of the men that share unusual elements. All 4 men had complained to friends and family that they had been tasked strange, impossible, and unscientific tasks by their employers. All 4 men committed suicide in incredibly violent and bizarre ways. Pritchard has studied numerous suicide cases and thinks such extreme suicide methods are normally only associated with people suffering severe mental breakdowns to the extent where they would be unable to even hold down jobs, whereas these people were all in full-time employment. So all of the men had also recently found new jobs and were preparing to leave within days of their deaths. How chilling is that? I just got chills just thinking about the fact that, these people were trying to find a way out and just suddenly committed suicide. Likewise, all 4 men arranged appointments with their MPs. And it's just crazy to think, what kind of weird projects were they working on that they felt like they had to speak to the MP? Isn't it just crazy? And another factor is sexual misadventure as a method of murder. So several of the deaths were put down to sex games gone wrong. Mm-hmm. Even in that case with the guy having an injection in his ass. Like,
Fell off a bridge. What? Oh, I guess maybe he was just masturbating off a bridge.
Injecting himself in the bum.
but so basically, intelligence
done
expert
it.
Conrad Black
We've all
says
been
that
Just masturbated onto traffic.
with a hyperbolic needle shoved in one. Yeah, baby.
so we got one fella with his pants around his ankles.
Not again!
We got 2 suffocations, and there were
The police
more.
are another one.
But apparently, death by sexual misadventure is a common method of disguising murder in the world of espionage, according to intelligence expert Conrad Black.
Do you know what that is?
He said disposing of an enemy and making it look like a perverted fantasy gone wrong is in the training manuals of every spy agency from MI6 to Mossad. The sex game cover is a very useful mechanism in murder. Not only does it provide a disguise for the actual means and method of death, it trashes the reputation of the victim and blunts the energy of any subsequent investigation.
There's also something he missed out there, which is the fact that people are so eager to immediately blame it on that. Like you know, say for example, it's like you turn up with like, you know, in a clear sex game gone wrong, and it's pretty much immediately
Eaten by a tiger.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like people, like say for example, someone found me bound, tied up, I know, with like a parson up my bum, dead. People would, like the police pretty much go, right, we know what this is, sex game gone wrong, and then they just basically trash any evidence. The coroner pretty much goes, yeah, well, you know, the parsnip is really jammed up there, so done. And they pretty much all just come to snap decisions, and before anyone stops and goes, actually, all of the critical stages of any investigation, because there are always critical stages, you know, the discovery of the crime scene, that have all passed, and you're pretty much away of it scot-free.
The Marconi
how
murders,
you kill a person?
The Marconi murders weren't actually the only unexplained violent or unusual deaths amongst defence workers in Europe in the 1980s. So in West Germany in 1986, there were several incidents involving individuals associated with America's strategic defence initiative dubbed Star Wars by the press.
Did that happen a long time ago?
It was the program, unlike the film, that was supposed to shoot down nuclear weapons. It was supposed to create an anti-nuclear weapon shield, which would have rendered Soviet nuclear capability useless. In July, Karl-Heinz Beckert, a director of Siemens and an SDI contractor, was killed by a car bomb in Munich. In 1986, a senior advisor was killed. There were other attacks on firms. Similar deaths and disappearances amongst defence figures in Sweden and Italy occurred at the same time, giving rise to the suspicion that there was an Eastern Bloc plot to attack Western defence capability and the SDI. So, because of obviously attempting to undermine an enemy's defence capabilities by murdering their scientists is not uncommon. In the US, the UK and Israel have all been known to strategically stage accidents to remove high-ranking enemy scientists for political ends. In recent years, at least 4 top Iranian nuclear scientists have been killed by Israel's Mossad in an attempt to derail Iran's nuclear program, and killing targets in a foreign country is also not uncommon. In 1978, dissident Georgy Markov was murdered on Waterloo Bridge in London by agents of the Bulgarian Secret Service, aided by KGB. Many of the Marconi scientists were involved either directly or peripherally in the Star Wars program and other related projects. So the question is, could their strange death actually have been a series of Russian or East German orchestrated murders designed to scuttle the SDI, or was it the governments that were paying them that were getting those people killed? Do you believe they were killed, or do you think they were suicides? Because the argument against it is that for the British government and Marconi and many other people for Marconi was blamed in the press quite a lot by the defence industry for the cluster of suicides, for putting so much stress on these people. So obviously that's probably one of the biggest problems, and in the secret defence industry, it's the contributing factor to probably many suicides, stress, and just the crazy work environment. And it's the most common form of death in men aged 20 to 49. So it wouldn't be unexpected to find a number of suicides in a male-dominated occupation, especially one that operates under such tight secrecy. Basically, they were saying that because it's secret work, the husbands wouldn't have even been able to tell their wives that they're under a lot of stress because they can't talk about the job. So it could be possible that it was just stress and some of them were suicides. But especially in those 4 cases that were highlighted by the expert, the guys that wanted to go and speak to their MPs, to me, sus.
None, like, just the thing, right? Okay, there's not much to say about this conspiracy theory. I think we go around the room and we go, do you think it was? Yeah, obviously, because it can't not be. Like, you know, it can't not be suspect. Because you just, people, you know, you look at the amount of, say, suicides that happen, yes, they are common, but if you look at them in relation to the proportion of the population, and then you look at the amount of suicides that occurred in this very small period of time in this one industry, this one thing, you're like, that's completely skewed. You know, that does not make any sense. Even, I guarantee if you got that statistic, and you put it up against other similar high-pressure jobs in that environment, it would be nowhere near. So it's completely above average, and half of them, as you say, like people having needle marks in their bum, you know, chopping their own head off with a car.
I just think cling film and plastic bags excessive.
Well, like
putting metal in your teeth,
or putting your mouth around the exhaust pipe.
Yeah, like
the thing is that apparently he was at such an angle that he could not have possibly held that position, like holding onto the exhaust pipe, unless he'd been helped, unless there was someone supporting him.
Yeah.
I mean, not supporting is a gentle word.
To me,
I'm here for you. Why you kill yourself?
A lot of them also imply the person they were deliberately grisly. The people weren't concerned with making it look totally like a suicide, which implies to me a certain confidence that only really comes with espionage agencies.
No, the one with the guy in the bathtub, surrounded by pills and alcohol and having none of that in his system, that is mental to me.
Yeah, but
that seems like very like. I think the point
so
that you're making is the fact that if you're going to make it look like a suicide, of course they're going to check for drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
If you're left with empty bottles of drugs and alcohol,
if you're going to kill, listen, I'm not.
That's like leaving you dead with a smoking gun, but you don't have a bullet hole. You have a neck wound.
And listen, and people need to think about this a lot. Is the fact that you come into an apartment. You burst in and you basically kill a person and go to the effort of doing all that. What you do instead is you hold them down and you force feed them loads of drugs and alcohol and then you kill them. It's not hard. You probably have about 6 or 7 different guys who've just come into this apartment. It's very easy to fake. The point is that what I'm trying to say is, to me, that implies a certain message-sending attitude. You know, that like, look what we did, blah, 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 tit for tat kind of thing. I'd be very interested to understand if there were any similar murders going on in the Soviet Union at the time.
Yeah, probably.
But obviously you wouldn't know because the Soviet Union's very hush-hush about those kind of things. Because it could have been retaliated. But basically, to me, that seems very much like, I don't know which side was doing it, but it's very much espionage business.
But it's so interesting.
It's interesting. It's also horrific for the people.
Of course.
May I add?
No, I mean, but it's...
Not just the people, I mean the family members who have to deal with, like... Can you imagine, like... Imagine having your husband or wife be found bagged and tied up, and then be like, oh, it's because she was a perverted sex freak, or he was a perverted sex freak,
and
asphyxiate themselves.
No, but what I'm saying is that
that's the end of it.
I think it's important to not make fun of that period of history, because like things like this happen, and I think it's important when we talk about
things like this happen all the time.
I know, but I mean, like when we're talking about conspiracy theories, there's such a big stigma attached to it with the whole like InfoWars, wear your aluminium hat, but like many conspiracy theorists believe, and I don't think that's a completely unfounded belief, that the whole stigma against conspiracy theories as a title comes from the very real effort to dissuade people from listening to them. Because like this Marconi murders case, there were loads of weird things about it, absolutely. And imagine like if I told you that, like, if I'd say, for instance, if I told you the same story with perhaps less bits of evidence and was like loads of scientists were getting killed and it was real weird, like you probably wouldn't believe it if I said like conspiracy theorists, I don't know, if it came from Alex Jones's mouth. Yeah. You know? It's just like, I think probably most conspiracy theories do start out with people a very real desire to try and understand something that's unexplainable. And I think it's interesting to consider more serious conspiracy theories like this. However, getting away from that, I've got a really silly one for you. Real short. So it's about giraffes. Suspicious animals.
They do keep committing suicide by chopping their own heads off with their cars.
I was going to say, you know, they're also on the endangered list now, but no one really paid attention to that. Giraffes now endangered.
Really?
Yeah, and but it seemed to just slip everyone by, because we just think, you know, there's loads of them, but no, they die really easily, and they don't defend each other in the slightest.
They run away. They just scatter.
Yeah.
They're like horses. Horses do the same thing.
I mean, at least we can say it's not entirely our fault.
I saw 2 giraffes going at it in Longley. That was crazy.
Oh, fighting.
No, going at the rumpy pumpy. I watched. Right, I had the rare privilege of getting to watch a male giraffe chase around a female giraffe with a massive bonk on for about half an hour, like just charging her, and she was having none of it. Like every time he got close to her, she'd like move out the way. He'd like bang into walls. Like he was just trying his hardest. Zookeepers weren't helping, and I thought, like, do you want to stop them hurting one another? Because this female was just running away, and this male was just chasing. The zookeepers there just like eating an apple, like Monday. He gets like that.
So this theory argues that giraffes are just failed attempts at robots that were invented in the 1950s by the New World Order. You can tell they're not natural by how they sleep, how they run. Natural animals balance with their tails, not their fucking necks. And how they fight, their great tongues, etc. And you might say, why would the New World Order make these robots? Well, think about it. Outside of Africa, where can you find giraffes? Zoos. What's in almost every major city? That's right, a zoo. And so if you were a secret organisation that wanted to hide vessels for nuclear bombs or mind control agents, what better place to put them?
How did you have two so completely different conspiracy theories? One that had us going there like, yeah, they're probably espionage, and then this one's just like, this person's mental.
We're wiping off all the Cthulhu cult stuff. We're like, why were we doing this?
Hold on. So if you're a secret organisation that wanted to hide vessels for nuclear bombs or mind control agents, why not put them in the middle of a tourist attraction in every major metropolitan area? The non-believers will say that the giraffe's prevalence in Africa disproves this, but I can guarantee you that none of them saw giraffe firsthand before the 1950s. They'll show you a video or photo evidence from prior to this, but it's all obviously fake.
How do you show someone something prior to the 1950s that is in real life?
All the people who saw them before the 1950s are now dead.
Also, can I point out, if someone hasn't drawn fan art of a giraffe robot with a nuke shoved up its bum, waiting to go off by the Illuminati being like holding a city to ransom, what are you doing? That is a comic strip right there. Why hasn't Batman fought nuclear-loaded robo-giraffes?
There's another...
Why hasn't this man come down from his LSD trip yet? We don't know.
There's another conspiracy theory that I kind of stumbled across on a subreddit where they were asking people for their favourite conspiracy theories. And one of the answers really tickled me, which was just one sentence. And I'm sure we will all believe this, which is that Guy Fieri is Kurt Cobain.
That's headcanon, just because it has to be real. I love that. I want that to be true. It's not, but I love that. I think I pretty much buy any theory that any person from history has hidden in the alias of Guy Fieri, quite frankly. But Guy Fieri is D.B. Cooper. Anything. I'll believe it if it leads back to Guy Fieri.
If you were to
tell me that Guy Fieri killed all those people, I'd buy it. He's a sadistic man. Watch him demolish those burgers. You know he has no mercy.
Kurt Cobain was mentally ill and struggling with drug and alcohol problems.
Guy Fieri,
he took to Slavertown?
Who then? Well, I don't really want to make light of the fact that this man was deeply depressed and committed suicide, and it was
actually a lot of suicide going on.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Avicii died today.
Yeah.
Was it suicide?
Del Winton?
The guy who hosted Bullseye died as well really recently. And
What is happening?
Show.
He was old. Avicii was 27.
Okay, guys.
How did he die?
Well, in all fairness,
last year... Same way every other 28-year-old musician dies, probably.
No, but I'm just saying, like, last year, let's just think about the start of 2017 and how, so far, 2018, yes, some celebrities have died, but not to the extent of Terry Wogan, David Bowie.
That was 2016.
Oh, that was 2016, wasn't it? Yes.
2016 was the Great Culling.
Yeah, 2016.
2017 was the year. 2016 was the year the Great Culling of celebrities we liked. 2017 was the Great.
Oh, was he sick?
Was
he
it
was
2
sick.
years ago?
It wasn't an overdose.
Right. 2017 was the great. Everybody is a rapist / paedophile year. Wow, this podcast has become very, very depressing.
Apparently, Dale Winton died because he took too many slimming pills.
He did take all the drugs.
Yeah, he died from an amphetamine overdose, I think.
A vitamin overdose?
Amphetamine, not vitamin overdose. Too much vitamin C! Just exploded.
Oh,
He actually turned into an orange.
He stood in the sunlight too long and it combusted. Vitamin D overdose.
Guys, you know what?
Skin
These
cancer.
conspiracy theories, I apologise that they've been so sad and morbid, but sometimes when you get down the hole, it's very difficult to see any light from outside. So I think the only way to clamber out of it, to get out of the sadness, is to go
Big
and
Shaq's
read
ribs
some
hot.
creepypastas.
Right.
Do we agree? You ready, Saul?
Creepypastas.
I do agree. Creepypastas, guys.
Boo.
Back in the room with all these pastorinos. That's not a thing that people say.
Well, it is a thing.
I
but
feel like
it's already
immediately
taken.
saying creepy pastorinos gives a better summing up of how lame most of them are.
Yeah.
As in, like, if someone was to be like, oh, I read some creepy pastorinos, you'd be like, what's that? And they're like, kind of spooky. Once in a blue moon, good spooky story. Most of the time, drivel.
No, I have a note on this one.
Mm.
So, I mean, I know how we love my little side notes. This one says...
Wait.
So,
So before we get going, can you explain what creepypasta is?
every week do I have to explain?
I explain every week what I do.
Well, maybe
I
you should-
explain every week
well,
my
James
late mental
pretty
health issues that are lying just below the surface.
Well, James pretty much just said that. A
I mean,
creepy pastorino is
below
just
the
a
surface,
slightly spooky story that's written by invalids.
Most of the time, however, there are occasionally one good one. Disclaimer.
I know. No, in all fairness, yeah, I actually found some pretty good ones, but I'm not going to read those ones. So this one is called Roommate Troubles, and in brackets I left a note.
I know that feel, Jonah.
I
Yeah.
was never your roommate.
You're my
So this.
Well, it's different to a roommate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Biatch.
So
Yeah.
We'll have to write a sequel.
Living in the same room.
With an android who was here
there's draft.
for the alien.
I have a nuke. And I will use it.
Imagine if
I
Michael would
believed
come
you for
downstairs
some
one day and be
reason.
like, I have
The way
a
you
nuke.
said it had so much conviction, James, that I for some reason believed you. I was like, could
My
James
God, he
have
does.
a nuke?
Could James have? Did I tell you there was a Swedish guy, a bit mentally deranged? Quick, just brief point quickly before we start the creepypasta. Nearly made a nuke in his oven.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard this.
He was trying to make a nuke in his oven, and they were like,
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah.
no, but he got close. He got close enough to be arrested for trying to make a nuke. Anyway,
How many people get arrested for that though?
Not many. Not many people are just there like. I mean, I guess I could get a spoon.
There was one company where every single person that was part of the company was arrested for building nukes.
Suspicious.
They'd come home and they'd
right
like,
next to the zoo.
yeah.
Anyway, so continue.
More giraffes spawned right after that.
So
Look at these shipping records. All this weapons grade plutonium going to San Diego Zoo.
right up a giraffe's bum.
No one has shipping records that detailed.
I don't know about you, but Amazon does.
Well, you put your delivery.
Amazon does about me.
Yeah,
They're like,
it's like
it was
in the
delivered
notes section.
to. It was delivered to the
no,
giraffe's
it says like, you know, tick a box like, you know, if it's not in, deliver to neighbour. Below that, if not in, deliver up rectum of local giraffe.
So no one makes their delivery address as giraffe's arsehole.
No, well, yeah, again, special request. It's like Marwell Zoo delivery address. Specific details for deliverer. Put up the giraffe's bum.
Okay.
Just more plutonium.
Here you go. Don't worry, I'm a robot. It doesn't bother me.
Just goes.
Although Amazon should have provided you with some safety equipment. I'm sure you weren't as glowing and throbbing when you got this package.
So-
Tumours.
I repeat, this one is called Roommate Troubles, and in brackets, mundane but some beautiful sentences.
Oh, okay.
It was
That's
so
a
long
style
ago
point.
since I've read this, I really can't remember it, but I vaguely, I think it's.
I thought you'd started.
Exactly.
That was the opening line.
Okay, so give us dramatic reading.
Dum dum dum. Dum dum dum. Dum 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 dum.
She said Saul, James. Shut up.
And the background, Saul's going.
I can't hear the front ground.
Front
Okay.
ground.
Guys, this actually happened to me a few years back at University of Arts in Philadelphia.
Oh, you're reading the story?
Just did what he did.
That was actually
said
the
point
beginning.
Oh man. Alright.
I like how any spooky story has to start with, this actually happened.
But
Yeah, real life
Not-
story.
Not like those other
Because
fake creepy
You might believe that it didn't because it's kind of weird.
Mm.
But it did.
But it did.
My sophomore year, I roomed with a girl named Cara. She was a jazz vocalist.
Lame.
But her main interest was opera. We had a
Imagine how unlucky you'd feel sharing your room with somebody who often practices opera jazz singing.
Also, how do you rotate between the two?
They're very different.
It's a skiddly bop.
Yeah.
It's like every time I'm just getting used to the skiddly bops, she just goes into opera.
We had a small room on the 6th floor of the dormitory called Juniper Hall. The walls were thin. I could hear people banging it. No.
I mean, you know they could.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a point. Would you rather live next to a jazz vocalist / opera singer, or people who were just banging against the wall every day, all day? Because I take the banging people.
No.
Because at least it's rhythmic, you know? I couldn't deal with someone who's got the improvisation of jazz vocals, and then opera added. For that added boom. No thank you.
You can make music by recording the banging next door.
It's even
You
better.
can get off to the banging next door.
Make music by recording the singing.
It's even better the fact that like jazz,
look at me
scatting
like that.
specifically.
It's already music.
Seems unorthodox.
Scatting specifically doesn't have any lyrics.
Yeah.
Scatting,
Opera.
I beg your pardon.
Opera has lyrics, but they're very hard to understand.
Yeah.
So you're just getting like and then just nonsense like long notes.
And you're just there like trying to sleep.
I like classical music.
Cara sounds like the worst roommate to get ever. Okay.
Classic Cara. So, the walls were thin, and her last night's singing and voice practice would keep me up late.
What does it matter if the walls are thin? They're in the same room, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. After a month or so of lost sleep, I convinced her to move her last night practices to her last night. No, it says last night.
Oh, okay.
Her last night practices
So
to
she convinced
music
her to
studios.
go back in time and move into the music studio.
Yeah, I mean, multiple times it says last night.
Clara is such a bitch.
Last night practices
Why
to
is
music
she-
studios
why-
in the Mariam Theatre building a block away. So, that, like, can you not practice, in this room whilst I'm sleeping? Can you actually just do it in the music studio?
I've just realised that the story is set in Juilliard, like, School of Arts, because she keeps making references to buildings that are seen in Glee. This person wrote creepypasta Glee fanfiction.
I mean, I'm happy that you pointed that out, but I'm also very depressed and that you knew the building blocks.
Okay, so when I was when I was I was 11.
Last week,
I used to really enjoy High School Musical, and I wanted to do
we're all in this
Can I ask you a question,
together.
Val?
I had
At the age
simple satellite state dreams.
Val, at the age you're referring to,
Yeah.
if you were brought before the eyes of the law, would you have been held criminally culpable for your actions?
What do you mean?
Were
What
you
actions?
18?
No.
Okay, then you're fine.
Okay.
If it was a decision you made after the age of 18, and the eyes of the law can judge you criminally culpable, it's your fault. If it's before that, you can chalk it down to awkward teens.
Cool. It was awkward teens. I wanted to go to Juilliard.
Oh my god, of
So
course you did.
lame.
You've seen, kid.
So,
And then I was like, I'm going to be an emo.
When was the point when you said you were going to be a nun?
So
When did I come in?
So I wanted to be a nun, then I wanted to be an actress, and then it came through.
right, so just a recap. So, Cara, jazz and opera vocalist.
All round bitch.
Yeah. In her last night sessions, have been singing all of last night.
To the wall that separates them as roommates.
Yeah. She was convinced to practice in the music studio, logically, in a theatre building a block away. Right, around 8 one evening, Cara announced that she would be practicing late for an upcoming rehearsal and probably wouldn't be home until around midnight. Great, I thought. That means I can go to bed early.
And whack
I
one
was
out
beat.
before she gets home.
I was building
beat.
this drywall that separates our room. Make it a bit thicker this time.
I was beat. I had a horrible day in acting studio and was ready to pass out as soon as I had dinner. She said goodnight and left, coffee and sheet music in hand. Nice.
Nice and artistic.
Why did she?
And she headed straight for Starbucks to bother them with her sheet
No,
music.
she already had a coffee in hand.
Yeah, but she'd go there just to tell them that's proper coffee. Sit down and loudly sing opera
I feel
music.
like Cara
Come
didn't
on.
receive the whole request to practice in the music studio very well, because she sounds like she left in a huff. She sounds like she left like, oh, I see you don't appreciate my
talent. It just seems
talents.
strange that the fact that, like, obviously one person's trying to sleep and the other person's singing, and then you're like, sorry, can you just do that in the music studio, that place designated for practicing and things
People
like that?
just like you, rather than literally a couple of feet away from my sleeping body.
So basically, Cara, can you stop being a bitch and just like go somewhere else, please?
Yeah, just like
the designated areas in this university. I made some grilled cheese and soup.
Grilled cheese and soup?
I made some grilled cheese and soup.
Cheese and soup, you say?
grilled the cheese in America.
No, it's not even like a grilled cheese sandwich. It's just grilled cheese and soup.
I assume as they're
It's got a
American, they
whole,
do
like,
call it grilled cheese. I'll
Like a
give them
whole block of cheddar
Why?
and just throw it under the grill like
From
oh,
Manchester.
And then just put it into soup.
that. Yeah.
No.
I love my cheesy soup.
I love my cheesy grill.
So, guys, I made some grilled cheese and soup, gobbled it down, and immediately began to prepare for bed. By the time I got out of the shower, my eyelids were so heavy I could hardly brush my teeth. I pulled on my
Dirty
PJs and crawled into the top bunk of our bunk bed. So yeah, it's a bunk bed.
Oh my god.
So she's in the top. So like she's there trying to sleep and literally lying down below her. Skin up,
She said thin walls. She meant a mattress at best.
Why did she bring up the thin walls? Is it the neighbours being like, so she's got skiddly da ba ba deep, and then the neighbour's like, shut the fuck up in there. And this woman's just sitting there like, I can't sleep through the pounding of the neighbours telling her to be quiet.
She's probably gone to theatre class.
Remix. Oh!
She's probably doing really well in her acting classes because she can really portray trauma.
I really hope
Just do a
that
jazz
this
rendition
roommate
of
gets
Tristan
brutally
Resolve.
murdered.
Oh
That's
my
all
God.
I have to say.
Same.
Right, so yeah, pulled on my PJs and crawled into the top bunk of our bed. I was out as soon as my head hit the floor. Sorry, pillow.
I tripped.
I was awoken by
Care.
Looks like you fell on
Just
the
pours the
floor.
coffee onto her. Thankfully, it's cold. I take a second to describe the layout of our apartment. Apartment now. Okay, that's nice.
Jesus.
Guys, are you in for a
She's so
description?
sleep deprived. She doesn't really know where she is. She's just climbed onto
With her thin walls in our bunk bed, but it's an apartment.
What's clearly happened is there isn't a bunk bed because what university still deals bunk beds out? I mean, rather than like.
I mean, especially Juilliard. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick.
yeah,
but,
like, oh, you get bunk beds like they're
they're
children.
really expensive.
I feel like more than she's
Shotgun
so,
top bunk.
Yeah, I feel
Like,
she's-
and bunk beds are acceptable in like two locations, right? You as a kid and prison.
yeah, that's it.
It's just those two extremes.
Military vessels.
Yeah.
But other than that, but this thing, right? I like to think that she's so sleep deprived at this point that she's just crawled up onto, those little bookshelves people have over their bed, knocked all of Kara's stuff off and fallen asleep on there, and she would still be less of a bitch than Kara.
Right, so I should take a second to describe the layout of our apartment. When entering the apartment, the bedroom was through the door immediately to our left. Our bathroom... so you had multiple rooms in this place and you had just one bunk bed.
Don't worry
When
about
entering the apartment, the bedroom was through the
This
door
is
immediately
a
to
true
our left.
story.
Our bathroom was inside the bedroom, just past the bunk beds.
Bunk beds.
Yeah, bunk beds, plural.
They're now in place that there's two sets of bunk
So
beds.
there's 4 people living here.
Although there were 4 and the other 2 had the good
Quit,
sense to move
thankfully.
out.
I've just
it.
been there
They
like...
suicide by behead.
Oh, so maybe she's not practicing in the place with the bunk beds, though.
Yeah, that's probably what they meant by
Why the walls are thin. Thank God. Right, thank
But
you.
Cara's-
Thank you for actually putting in this dump of your
Cara's
description
still
of
a
your bloody
bitch,
apartment.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Especially since she's like, I guess you've got bunk beds, so I guess I'm going to sleep on one of them. And then Carl's like, I go on whatever one you do. No, we have 2 bunk
We
beds.
could both be on top.
Yeah. Skiddly dab bop.
Yeah, let's move the bunk beds next to each other.
So I can skiddly bop all night.
So
Carl,
the
I do
UARTs,
not like you.
so UARTs is nice in the sense that you don't have to share bathrooms.
But bunk beds. Can you imagine getting that tour of your university halls and they're like, you have your own bathroom. Great. Is that bunk bed in there? Yes. I get
This is
my
not
own
just a-
bathroom,
this is not
but
a
I have to sleep on a bunk bed.
This is not like a double bed though. Like You're just sharing with Graham, James.
Hello.
He's always
Already waiting, pyjamas on. Like, it's 3 PM. Come to bed, James.
He's got one of those, like, those nice hats on. He's like, come to bed, James. We're going to read stories.
He's like, I think we should practice sleeping
This
to
one's a
improve
true
our
story.
bond.
James, I'm going to share with you a spooky story. This one happened to me.
He's
Right.
always big spoon.
Yeah.
Anyway, I woke up to the sound of the apartment door closing. I opened my eyes and groggily checked my phone. Midnight on the dot. I rolled back over and closed my eyes. I heard Cara entering the room and stopped in front of the bunk bed.
I heard the cacophony of angry shouts as she came through the building, skiddly bopping the whole way.
So I heard Cara enter the room and stop in front of the bunk bed, checking to see if I'm actually asleep, I thought. She flopped down on the bed below me, which was strange, as she was a stickler for brushing her teeth and washing up before bed. Then again, exams were just around the corner, and we were all exhausted. I think it's meant to say all. The mattress below creaked. And
the mattress below creaked, not the bed. The mattress.
It's rubbish springs. The mattress below creaked, and then was silent. I couldn't even hear her breathing. I started to drift off again.
Drift off again?
Sorry,
So can you often hear people breathing in a bunk bed situation? I'm saying, like, being... Yeah. I like that the car's, like, buggered her, like, nasal tract. She's like the singer from Disturbed, so she has, like, a nasal problem, and that's why she can do all the wah sounds.
Yeah.
So she's like,
hey, I'm just going to go do some science.
not science, singing.
So I couldn't even hear her breathing. I started to drift off again. I was just on the edge of deep sleep when I was startled awake again by a noise. A key in the lock, the door opening, and Cara entering our apartment, humming an opera tune. No, scatting. The mattress below me creaked.
Oh, that's it.
I saw Cara enter the room. She stopped in front of me, I thought, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't Cara, though, but, I can't tell what the person who's literally making my life a living nightmare looks like when they walk in the room.
Well, to be honest, I think it was a demon, and, like, they probably looked very similar to
I heard Cara enter the room.
Fair play, you're excused.
Look, demon, Cara, same thing.
It's the kind of thing that's like, my roommate is such a bitch, I would rather have this axe murderer share a room with me than the opera singer.
Also, here's one for you. So there is just one bunk bed. So the S on the end, mistake. But here's one for you. What was that person's intention for the fact that they walked into your room, saw someone sleeping, went, perfect, I'll have a nap.
Also, nothing tells me...
Goldilocks, she's never through a thing again.
Nothing ever
it was
tells
Graham.
me...
He can't sleep without company.
Yeah, he's like, James left me. He said bunk beds are lame. No. Also, nothing ever tells me true story quite like one that doesn't tell you what happened. Just ends on a cliffhanger. Can you imagine watching a film that was like say Lincoln, like based on a true story, and then halfway through just stops. Like,
Did they anticipate them or not?
Yeah. I mean,
which is quite similar to the way that the play stopped for Lincoln. Because it didn't get to finish the play. Didn't get to finish the play.
Do you think? All right, Lincoln got shot. Well done, Val. Nice easy one there.
Do you think he's? Yeah, I got shot.
Well, James, the play did stop when he got shot.
Yeah.
It's not like
what a load of bad actors. They always
say
the play must go on, and one president getting their head blapped in isn't going to stop me and my monologue. I'm going to be up there and
gunshot for the presidential box. And,
you better believe.
Quiet at the back, please.
Yeah, I'd be like, I was in the middle of my Mark Antony speech.
Excuse me, this play is about a man trying to find out which cat can eat coffee beans.
Callback.
I would actually really love to find out what play was playing when Lincoln died. If he comes up in one of our Today in Histories, we should definitely have a look and see what he missed. Okay, going back to what
I hope it wasn't The Tempest.
No,
if it was The Tempest,
I don't think it was a famous film.
If I was watching The Tempest and was the President of the United States and was deeply unpopular with people for the Emancipation Act, and I was watching The Tempest, I'd be like, shoot me now.
Deeply unpopular with most Southerners.
Yeah.
Right.
So, this one, progressive, different. I read it and was like...
Is this the title? Progressive, different.
So, this one is called We Found Heaven. It Was Empty.
Oh.
Edgemeister.
We all know that heaven's only got Mormons in, firstly. So it's not going to be empty. Secondly, surely God God would be
I think
there.
the virgins are there and they're waiting.
Well,
Yeah. Just wait.
Just
no,
you
They're
wait.
angry.
No, just a gone fishing
Just
sign.
wait. Now, okay, there will be a couple of sentences.
They're ripping people apart.
There'll be a couple of sentences, so hold back on criticism until later, because it's just the way it's worded. But we shall see. Nearly 3 decades ago, work had begun on a machine that could punch a hole through the fabric of reality.
Also, you mean the subtle knife?
A whole.
Philip Pullman book.
I honestly thought you were going to start with "We are building a ladder to heaven," like a South Park episode. Like, I genuinely believe that was going to be the
A
start.
hole straight through to another reality and beyond. The idea was that, with the right circumstances, we could find a universe with limitless energy. This would make up for the unimaginable amounts of power that the machine took up.
The problem was caused that I've got a machine that uses up a fuck ton of energy, like so much energy, and they're like, "Why do we want this machine?" He's like, "Because we can find a universe that makes this hopefully work."
How do you start it? Because you have to turn it on to find the universe to power it. How do you power it to turn it on to find the universe?
I like to believe that no one. This was just an engineering oversight, and they turn on the machine. They're like, "Yes, finally, limitless
brains
possibilities."
all
Guys,
lights on the
guys, we need to find an energy universe now. This thing is violently consuming power.
It gets better. So, amounts of power that the machine took up, and the irreparable damage it would likely do to Earth and the surrounding solar system.
Who's done this on? Who's
Doctor
done this
Doom.
on? Like, yeah, it literally sounds like a Lex Luthor-like plan. Like, go to the universe with all the energy, kill Superman, make it worth the planet and solar system that's been destroyed.
But if you found a universe at the very beginning of its creation, we'd have unfathomable amounts of raw undefined energy that would last for a couple billion years. And at the same time, scientists would be able to study universes that followed entirely different laws of physics from our own.
Great.
In this
What
one,
value does that add to the world if you're just ruining the universe that you live in, have no energy to support the people you have?
but you can go to the world where water goes up. Not just on places with gravity, always.
I suppose
Always up.
Also, surely you wouldn't be able to exist in a
Place with
universe
all, yeah.
where the laws of physics are completely different.
Yeah.
just very confident rich people have made this
A
machine.
lot of good old sci-fi words there. Not a lot of good old sci-fi thought has gone into it.
Yeah.
Um,
So a few years before I was born, this was accomplished. With this limitless energy expanding technology beyond anything possible before it and solving most of the world's problems, war and struggle had been at an all-time low.
How do you
although I
measure
bet
struggle?
you before they turned on the machine, there was an almighty war and struggle with what we call the rational people being like, don't turn on the world-ending machine on the hope that we will find some way to make it suddenly viable. And the people
Well,
who
it's
are like,
viable.
we're turning on the machine now. Haha, look at you. You doubted us when it was literally completely unviable in our reality. But in other realities, it's viable. So,
Also,
Joke's
how do you
on
measure?
you.
How do you measure struggle? Because I mean, I can imagine struggle being like poverty, like general standard of living. But what about like the struggle of getting out of bed in the morning? Like
Or just
once you got rid of the big guys, surely you'd be measuring the little guys. Do you know what I mean? Like
or
the
just like
little
the struggles
struggles.
in like a
how
bit of
much
pushing each other.
energy does a machine consume that a universe comprised entirely of energy only lasts 1 billion years?
2 billion.
2 billion years. Like that's a thirsty girl.
Yeah, I think they need to.
But
think of a
but we
different
have enough
purpose.
energy to power it for the first initial
Yeah.
I mean,
go on the
that-
old
Go on the old
universe.
spinneroo.
It's consuming in the universe of pure energy. It's consuming the energy faster than the universe expands.
Somehow this machine consumes so much energy that it managed to turn infinite energy into 2 billion, which is really saying something.
Like, how cool are these worlds? Do you know what I mean?
Right,
Well,
guys.
Energy doesn't derive from coolness.
No. I'm just saying, like, how cool are these worlds that you're willing to sacrifice? Like this one.
Okay, picture this right now. There's no way that machine can work. It's completely unviable, and all it will do is destroy the universe. What about the one where, like, there's nothing but, money, wealth, power, and you're at the centre of all of that? Turn on the machine. Turn on the machine right now.
I feel to me, it sounds like this whole machine started like as a thought experiment. Somebody being like, imagine if we build a machine that's like so powerful that it destroys this universe. And then we're like,
Imagine if we then said, let's see, they buy this, yeah? We said it will only work if once turning on the machine, we can only save our own universe by finding another universe that can power the machine that we didn't need to turn on in the first place but had.
Right. Until a group of religious extremists tries to use the machine to prove the existence of God. That was a separate paragraph. That is just...
That's good writing, though. Separate themes, separate characters.
Not as good writing as going, here's our sci-fi thing and technology. Oh, who's that over the hill? I'm like, could it be anybody other than religious Luddites? It's religious Luddites!
It's always them.
They're meshing things up again.
But yeah, they want to prove the existence of God. This started a war. So this will be the second war.
After the War of Reason.
They said war was at an all-time low.
Yeah, so this is,
But apparently they're all just waiting.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
like,
Machine turns
not
on,
much to
then
fight
we'll
war
do
about
again.
right now. And someone said like, but we use the machine to prove God's real. Yes, fight.
Oh. This started a war. One of the largest uproars in history.
One of
the largest.
Not as big as...
Uproars.
Not like the winter of discontent.
I like referring to war as just an uproar.
Yeah.
Uproar.
Imagine Theodore Roosevelt, Winston Churchill and Stalin sitting at the conference of Yalta and being like, that was a rather large uproar, wasn't it?
Nearly every single religion turned on the small group of 30 people protected by the United States government.
What? Of course.
Wait, nearly every religious group. So it's basically that one person was like, let's use the machine to prove God's real. Yeah. Our God, though. What? Our particular one. No, our particular one.
Was it the Janes?
Yeah, basically.
Did they not talk? They were like, we want to use it to prove God. And everyone like nodded. And then someone was like, do not talk about how we're all from different religions and literally spend our entire time saying the other ones aren't right. Let's just stick with the fact that we're all teamed up against the 30 people who did this ridiculous thing in the first place. Also, I don't like phones.
Yeah, it's like Catholicism, Judaism and Islam was like, we all agree
that machine that shouldn't physically exist in our universe because it will kill it, but has somehow managed to have been finagled by science in a budget job that spans our entire dimensions universe, somehow is now working, is probably a bad thing. And someone's like, Luddites! No.
So some were scared that their God would be proven false. And some thought it would...
That sounds like religious conviction to me.
And some thought it would...
That's such a good point. You're just worried your God will be proven false. I am, actually. But surely you don't really believe in him.
Like a way of looking at the world that's famous for just kind of taking things at face value.
Yeah.
Like, someone told me there's a God. I don't think there's a God. I want to live by that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think... not to take it to a serious place, but to me it seems crazy to... be incapable of perceiving the notion that something doesn't exist.
What?
Like, say for instance, I'm a religious person, I believe in God. Does that make me then incapable of perceiving the idea of how I would feel if he did not exist?
Yeah, but how would the machine prove this? I'm not trying to be... I'm not trying to...
But the thing is, if you're religious, there should be no doubt in your mind that there is a God. So you should never fear...
Yeah, but you're not in... But what I'm saying is that, yeah, you can believe something, but you can still understand...
I don't think this person wrote this to get
this
deep religious
This is an important debate. If there is, as a religious person, if there is for a second a doubt in your mind as to what you're believing in, why are you putting your whole life on it?
No, I'm not saying doubt. I'm saying an understanding of how you would feel if that wasn't the case. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
like a true
fair
atheist.
enough, yeah. So a religious person would be like, oh, if God wasn't real, I would be so boned. But
yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't believe in God if you think that you would.
What religious person is like, oi, stop that! What? You're disproving our God!
But what I'm saying is, like, so the people in this fictitious and ridiculous scenario, like, we're going to prove the existence of God
before they disprove it.
Anyone who is actually religious should go, all right, then go.
Yeah.
Then why are they afraid? They're not religious if they're afraid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, this is the way. I'm not trying. This is my one point before we get back to the actual story, because there's no way anybody has talked about this story as in depth. With as much religious connotation as this author who was just there like clackety clack. Religion is bad. I'm inventive as hell.
And then they went
a right to new. Just one. I never wanted.
James, do you know the person who wrote this? Because I actually know this creepypasta. Was on the second season of Sense8.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you're an aspiring writer out there, and one of your plots hinges on the fact that religious people are upsetting spaghetti, and your entire plot hinges on them just being completely backwards, bad, and evil for no other reason than the fact that they are religious, think of something more inventive. Because I am sick to death of everything being like, the world was good until this one man worshipping the pot god said that they were disproving him and his colander minions. And he was like, all hail the great saucepan in the sky, beat to death the miracle cure for cancer. No, stop it, cut it out. Because people got to have like Altered Carbon tried to shove that in there real quick. He's like, some people are religious and don't like living forever, which is actually kind of what religion promises in the first place. Religion is weird. Also, I'm Altered Carbon and I was born malformed but rich. Fuck Altered Carbon. Anyone out there? Fuck that show. It was so dumb before it was so smart. It was like a person in diapers parading around with their U grade, and they didn't understand that wasn't just like a smiley face for well done. Anyway.
Right, so with James's rant, I think we're out of time, so we're just gonna right, so it started a war. Yeah, nearly every single religion turns. So I've completely lost my bloody place now, James.
Are you seriously putting that at my door? These two having their religious theology debate?
Yeah.
Some were scared that their god would be proven false, and some thought it would wrong to try and prove their god real rather than simply having faith.
I don't agree with that bit either.
But in the end, there was no war.
Oh, what?
It was the greatest uproar, the biggest war in history. But
so can you not put the fact that you're getting confused at my door? Can you put it at the door of the person who's written this broke ass, nonsensical, weird stop and start story?
That like hard segues into religious people.
All the religious people teamed up.
This started a war, one of the largest uproars in history.
There was no
war. But in the
war.
end, there was no war. Yeah, they could do they're literally like separated by one other paragraph.
And it's completely conflicting statements.
World leaders would not attack the US, which supplied their power through the magic machine. Also, it's an American machine that they invented.
Only the Americans are like, punch a hole through the universe, think about it later. What do you mean? Punch a hole through the universe right now, boy, and we'll think about it later.
The countries who did were often far too small to do any major damage.
So there was a war. Countries attacking other countries is a war.
I think you'll find that the US involvement in Vietnam was
not
a
we
war.
did not sign the official. This was definitely a war piece of paper, so it wasn't a war because we lost.
The machine was set to search for a universe with the coordinates of various holy numbers from the Christian Bible.
Okay.
Not the other religions that teamed up. Not all the other religions. They like everyone.
Yeah, fuck the other major religions.
The Hindus, they're like, our religion is the oldest organised religion. Nah, yours isn't important, mate. We don't have a Christian Bible now. Yeah. But weren't we all a team once? Like, why have we done this?
For weeks it searched, finding nothing. Different combinations inputting every time a search
combinations?
failed.
What combinations are there in the
6,
Bible?
1, 2, 3, 7.
6, 1,
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I feel like this person is just...
What do you mean? How is that a coordinate? Like, what coordinate? I don't... Yeah, there's... Especially...
I don't know. What if we type in the word Leviticus into the magic machine and we stare at it till it does something? I feel like this person watched an episode of Stargate and was like, I'd just spin the wheel and type in Bible numbers and see where that led me. Anyway, so we'll continue with this masterpiece.
Until a little over 4 months ago, January 19th, 2234.
It's not even that long. Yeah, at least we don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
We found heaven. There was nothing else it could be. It was a reality of endless skies, nothing but... And God there. No. Nothing but clouds and blue as far as the eyes could see. As far as any creature, machine or natural entity could go, the air was breathable, fresh and sweet even. So
Sweet,
weirdly worded. And the light was dim, but not too dark to see. When I think of heaven, I think of...
dim.
I always think of lighting. I'm like, I don't want the lighting to
dim
be too glaring.
and literally nothing but clouds. Like, at all. Like
a romantic evening, but on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I think
that's the yeah. That's it. I look out the window of my plane journey and I think, get some perfume and spray it directly to my eyes and go, I'm in heaven.
And it was entirely empty. The only thing of note were the red lakes. Every cloud had them, and they were incredibly fresh. They were still rippling upon entering the universe. Some, in fact, hadn't even fallen to the ground yet.
Red lakes?
The first three in even claimed they looked humanoid for a second. The damage to our world upon opening a portal is irreparable and devastating. But now we know the damage to other worlds is 1,000 times worse. Humanity destroyed heaven by accident. Bum bum bum.
But the religious people were right then.
Well, they don't know because there's no proof. I mean,
no, there is. Surely they just come into heaven and killed everyone. So surely the religious people are right.
Yeah,
we're right, and yeah, sure, we killed all these people or whatever, or God or whatever. But
yeah,
we were in heaven.
There was no, giant old man
dead.
This was the equivalent of Captain America: Civil War. We began the story and we ended
in
the same place.
No, we haven't. No,
nothing happened.
We haven't ended in the same place because the world is.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is might or might not be at war, and also there's a machine that's devastating to our world apparently. And also, but they still keep using it.
It's a happy ending at the end of the day. Yeah, sure, they killed all the current inhabitants of heaven, but they get to go to heaven now, so that's a happy ending. It worked for them.
Yuck.
At least that was that.
I'm gonna give that story a
quite
rating
dim.
of yuck.
It's quite dim.
It's quite dim. It's because God's dead body is over the sun.
like that scene from Rick and Morty with the dead.
Yeah.
The homeless dude.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the worst ones. There was a war, perhaps not. Small countries attacking the US. We don't even consider them a war. We laugh at Nicaragua as a kid. I mangled that word. Just... Can you imagine being a country that invades another country and they don't consider it a war?
Right, I can... Do I have time for one more?
One more.
Yeah,
one more.
Bonus.
This is going
to
be a quick one. This is called The Accident.
It's all about the creation of the previous creepypasta.
I was just throwing words against the wall and these
Science words.
Right. It was 1 a.m. and Guy Halston sat in his dark living room.
Guy Fieri.
And Guy Fieri sat in his dark living room. He hadn't moved for over an hour. The accident...
He was too full.
He had just crapped his pants and he didn't want to acknowledge the fact that he was a 36-year-old man with shit in his boxes.
The accident...
Guy Fieri there, Val!
The accident earlier...
It's much older than that.
The accident earlier that evening kept playing over and over in his mind. The light turned red.
Okay, Val's story actually makes sense.
The light turned red, but he was in a hurry. Accelerated.
The light turned red is such a good expression for I'm about to shit myself.
This is not a story about Guy Fieri shitting himself.
Okay, the light turned red. I knew I had to pay the 20p to get to the bathroom now or I was going to catch my pants.
An orange blur came from his right, and in a split second there was a violent jolt. Then a bicyclist rolled over across his hood and fell out of sight onto the pavement. Stepping on the gas and screeching away from the chaos into the darkness, shaking and keeping an eye on his rearview mirror until he got home. Why did you run, you idiot? He'd never committed a crime before this, and punished himself by imagining years in jail, his career gone, his family gone, his future gone.
That's not how it works. You can't just imagine your punishment and not have to do it.
Like I've lived my sentence in here, Taps head.
Your Honour.
The judge is just like, you're free to go.
Time served.
Why not just go to the police right now? You can afford a lawyer.
That's how it works. It's like
you just hit a cyclist and you
hit and run.
You potentially killed someone. You sat at home and you're there like, I shouldn't have driven right. I potentially killed someone. I can afford a lawyer.
I can get away with this. Doesn't matter.
And I've also
you better be a good one.
I'm rich and white. It's all good.
That's probably what it feels like to be the 1% rich white person. Just be like, I can afford a lawyer.
Then someone tapped on the front door and his world suddenly crumbled away beneath him. They found heaven. No.
It was the cyclist.
They found
Somebody
me.
came to ask him whether Jesus was his friend.
They found me. There was nothing he could do. His body trembling. He got up, went to the door and opened it. A police officer stood under the porch light. Mr. Ferrari asked the grim officer. He let out a defeated sigh.
Can you imagine that at the door? You're like, you see people come down. All right, yeah, I'm here. I'm the police. Okay, that was a bit strange. Not many people sigh in defeat as I approach them.
Yes, let me. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. Your son's bike was struck by a hit-and-run driver this evening. He died at the scene. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Also, you couldn't help but notice in the drive, car covered in blood that matches the vehicle description. Must really suck to be you, because now we have to try you for your own son's murder. Don't worry, officer. I've already done it all up here. Taps head. Officer's like, actually works. Walks off. Might want to get. I actually know a guy who can help you get those dents out.
I feel
those
like
sun-sized dents.
I feel like I'm gonna answer the door like that every single time.
Oh my! I just love the idea of. Hello.
But no. It'd be like you know. Mr. James.
Yeah.
Your son's dead. I can afford a lawyer, and he just closes the door.
Or like you're gonna need a warrant for that.
Yeah, but people don't just show up to your house and tell you your son's dead. Like they ask you to identify the body first. Like
yeah, there is a process.
Yeah, you don't just come up to somebody's house and go, your son's dead. Like there's a way of telling them. You don't just tell them while you're outside their house. Like by the way, I've heard from someone that your son might have died.
I think this guy got slightly confused with like you know how you know people die and how maybe it's been shown in military movies where you know the
military parade comes up.
The military comes round, you know, and they say, I've got some bad news, you know, died in action. Yeah, it's like obviously there's no body to identify because it's you know with all the others. But
Can you imagine just saying how much better Saving Private Ryan? Not that it's not an already great film. If that scene where they work out that the Ryans have all died within a couple of days and the mum is getting the letter, if that scene where the mum is doing the washing up and you see the military police come up, pull up to her door, they get out, she walks outside and they're like, Mrs. Ryan, and she just goes, yep.
I thought you
no, like collapsing on the porch, like, oh god, no, just like.
I thought we were going to pitch the version where like 5 different officers and chaplains show up and just try and wrestle each other to the one to knock on the door.
Or the one where she runs over all 3 of her sons on the way home.
also, like, I every time like I watch Saving Private Ryan, I always think like, oh, I completely forgot that person's in there. Like Nathan Fillion.
Or Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many people just turn up in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Or Ryan, who does turn up at the end. I mean, that middle creepypasta about the energy machine. Boy, that was a stinker. Like, I would like to make that machine and punch into a reality
where
that creepypasta doesn't exist.
See, the other thing, I thought I'd start with the jazz vocalist. End with the other one, but just have that middle one of just this badly
to leave you a bad taste.
There was
badly written.
Yeah.
It's like a shit sandwich, but at least it's like Hovis 50-50 for the other 2 pieces of it, or maybe seeded batch. Maybe not that good. Fuck it, no.
But it's not more shit. That's the point.
It's not more. Yeah,
it's not just 3 shits in a pile. There is at least food.
I'm not comparing the other 2 to seeded batch of all things. No, that is good quality bread.
And these were not good quality bread. On the Guy Fieri scale.
The Guy Fieri bread scale.
Can I point out though that I feel like that description of war is definitely how when I play my strategy games I'm gonna gloat when I beat someone easily. I'm like, there was a war, and then when I beat them I'm like, there was just an uproar.
One of the greatest uproars of all time.
Your salt as I conquered you on Total War.
And with that, we'd like to thank you for coming to our late shift. My name's Valentina.
I'm James. Still.
Yes.
I am Saul.
We don't usually ask our names here. We don't do a roll call at the end.
Okay,
You've thrown us
fine.
right off.
Okay, fine, whatever. And with that, thank you so much for listening to our late shift. I hope you enjoyed our segments. I hope you enjoyed
James.
what you learned today in history. Cry. I really don't feel well, guys.
Okay, let's just finish off.
Someone else can do it.
I'll do it.
No, you do it.
Okay, guys. Well, that concludes the creepypastas and therefore the end of the late shift. Thank you very much for joining. I am
Why do we keep... Let me fucking do it. Jesus Christ.
They haven't all left.
Can we
And
have
left
all of
me
these left in the final cut?
Yeah. Okay. And that brings the end of our creep. And that brings...
James, what? No, but it's hard to edit.
Sorry.
Come on, you guys.
And that brings the end of the creepy... That's just a second. And that comes to the end of the creepypasta segment and therefore the end of our show. Thank you for joining us all on the late shift. And we hope to see you again later on. Toodaloo, chickaboo!
Oh god.
Jonah, you have to try one.
It's about time we stop talking, so goodbye, good night. See you again next time.
Oh, short and sweet. Oh, yeah, just leave them all in.
Leave them all in, just be like...